What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is your review for Bel Air Season 1, Episode 9. So, we open this episode, we see Will is trying to get dressed. They're getting ready for Uncle Phil's debate. Remember the big debate? And Jeffrey comes in there to tell him, yo, you need to hurry up. Will, you need to... Well, actually, no, pause. They're not getting ready for the debate. My apologies. They're getting ready to go to church. My apologies. My apologies. The debate comes at the end. But they're on their way to go to church, and Will is getting dressed, and he can't get his tie right. So Jeffrey comes in there to tell him, come on, you got to hurry up. We got to get going. And he gets Jeffrey to ask, he asks Jeffrey to help him with his tie, and he agrees. And then he says, what have you heard about my dad? And Jeffrey told him, listen, in due time, we're working on it. It's a process. So we go downstairs. We see Ashley is talking to her mama about the church and the politics of the church. We see Carlton is looking nervous, as always. And Carlton is looking nervous because they're on their way to church, and we find out that Carlton is going to be singing. Now we wait for dang it. The daughter, child, Hillary. I couldn't get it out. We're waiting for Hillary to get there, and Hillary shows up, and she look cute. Hillary know how to put on an outfit, honey. She look cute. And so they all headed off to church, and they get to church, and Aunt Viv got a nice hat, honey. She got that good old, Baptist church hat, honey. She looking real good, the real part. And we see everybody show up, and we find out that this used to be their church, but of course, over time, over the years, they stopped going on a regular basis. It's been a couple of years since they've been there regularly, but of course, Uncle Phil doing the politician thing. This is the pastor that he got the endorsement from when they went to the Alpha Phi Alpha function. Now, Ashley ends up asking the pastor about LGBTQIA roles within the church and how they should be allowed to serve in a larger capacity than just being the church choir. And he said, you know what, I agree with you, and we are making strides to do that. Like, thank you, sister. But he sidestepped it nicely. He wasn't rude, but it was a pivot on it. Now, Ashley ran into Karuchi, girl. Karuchi keep a job. I ain't mad at you, Karuchi. Karuchi will keep a job. I done seen Karuchi on Claws. Then she went over the games people play. Now she got the little cameo on Bel Air. And the role is that her and Hillary know each other from church. She's a little older than Hillary. They grew up with each other. And she is also a social media influencer. She got 3-point-something million followers on whatever. And, her and Hillary bond or whatever. And Hillary says, well, I'm trying to be like you, girl. And she said, yeah, I've been watching you. Like, I really enjoy your content. I've been seeing you. She said, really? She said, well, maybe, maybe we could collab on some things. Now, just as she said that, that's when Uncle Phil was like, it's time for us to get in church. But Karuchi, again, she didn't give a definitive. She didn't look like she was excited about it, but she didn't say no. And I feel like, again, this is a role that could be expanded depending on which way they go. So then they get in church, and Will actually asked Carlton about, wanting to find his father and what should he do. And Carlton was like, listen, I honestly don't have the answer to that, but, you are in the place where people ask those questions and seek some sort of guidance. Like, maybe you should ask God, So church service starts, the pastor get the pastor in, and then it's time for Carlton to sing. And Carlton actually does have a decent voice. But halfway through the song, baby, he loses it. His voice starts cracking, he gets nervous, and he ends up having to run off stage. Off stage, child. Run out of the choir stand. Now, this is the only thing I'm going to say about this scene, okay? Now, y'all hyped it up that this man got this old mega church, and this the first mega church, and this part of the city, and all this other stuff. Remember how they hyped it up? Ain't nowhere in the world that at a black church, there's supposed to be this big mega church that is going to be empty, okay? The church was empty. It was like every other pew. Now, I don't know if this is because they were filming during COVID time, and this is what they had to do, but that's number one. Number two, you ain't never been to nobody's Baptist church, shoot, you ain't even been to no Catholic church that didn't have 4-5 people up on the pulpit with the pastor, okay? Why he the only one up there? He don't have no associate pastors, no associate to the associate pastor. He don't have no soon to be pastors, no past pastors. He don't have nothing up there. It's just him. And then the choir stand. If this is supposed to be a mega church, that choir stand is supposed to be rocket. It's supposed to look like the Mississippi Mass. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say about this part. I just felt like they could have gave me more with this whole church scene to give me the feel of a mega church. And again, I wouldn't even be making a big deal about it if y'all hadn't told me that this was a mega church. Okay, but anyway, moving on. But I'm gonna get the benefit of the doubt that they was filming during, the Roni Ron, and they had to do what they had to do what they had to do, the social distance and stuff. Anyway, so we get back to the house, and Aunt Viv approaches Ashley. She said, "Listen, girl, you used to really be into the environment, but I noticed that you have shifted your causes from the environment to LGBTQIA. Like, what's up with that?" And Ashley was like, "Listen, I can do two things at one time. Both are good causes." She said, "I understand that, but is there, a deeper reason why you're so, so passionate of an advocate for LGBTQIA right now? Like, is it something we need to know?" And Ashley, was like, "No, I mean, I just feel like it's a great cause, and, it's a social issue, and we should all want to do better with social issues." So she ends up walking off, Aunt Vi ends up walking away and letting it go. But later on, we find out that she know what the dealio is, and she know that Ashley is either questioning, feel some kind of way, see something, feel something, but she's scared to say it, okay? She finds that out. So then Will is talking to Hillary, and Will lets Hillary know, "Listen, like, what's up with, you think Carlton is good?" And she was like, "I don't know, he was doing so well." Like, they were talking about what happened to Carlton. So Will actually says to her, lets her know, like, Carlton is really into some stuff. And she was like, "Well, what you mean into some stuff?" And he was like, "Well, Carlton likes to party." And she said, "This is Bel Air, everybody likes to party." He was like, nah. Like, he parties hard, like the heavy stuff. And so Hillary is like, "Are you serious? Like, oh my gosh, like, I missed the signs. I didn't know. I didn't see it." And she says, "Well, you need to talk to him." And he was like, "Why don't you talk to him?" And she was like, "Because you're the one that knows. Like, you've seen him do it. If I talk to him, it's not gonna hit the same. So you need to really go talk to Carlton." So Will ends up going upstairs to talk to Carlton, and they have a good conversation. I mean, of course, at first Carlton is being his negative self, being his, I ain't had nothing on my stomach, and I was feeling nauseous, and so, I didn't want to throw up in front of everybody, so I had to leave. And Will was like, "Yo, Carlton, you really put too much pressure on yourself. Like, it's okay to not be okay." And Carlton ends up opening up to him, and Carlton tells him, he says, "Listen," he said, "I deal with anxiety, and my anxiety makes it uncomfortable for me to talk to people about dealing with my anxiety. And so the drugs make things better. The drugs help me cope with the anxiety and what I need to deal with people." And Will was telling him, "Listen, you don't need it. Like, I got you. I got your back. If you ever need to talk or you need, like, come to me." And later on in the episode, Carlton does admit to Will that talk helped. He said, "I was about to get high." He was like, you saved me from wanting to get high." And Will said, "Yo, man, you really need to let that stuff go." And Carlton said he flushed it, but we know he didn't, because it just ain't that easy. Like, a drug addict don't stop being a drug addict just because they had one good day. Like, especially if it's around. And I just feel like Carlton had a good day, and they're moving in a good direction, but I do not think that Carlton is ready to be like, "Yeah, I'm done with the drugs." Like, it's not that easy. So then we see Uncle Phil meeting with his campaign manager, and Jeffrey is there. And they're talking about, they verified the fact that Fred cheated on his wife. They've been able to verify that she was at that golf tournament, and it was before his wife died. And of course they say, his campaign manager is ready to use it. He's ready to launch it. And Jeffrey is sitting there looking very uncomfortable, and Uncle Phil was like, "Go ahead and say it. Like, you clearly have something you want to share." And he says to him, he was like, "Listen." He basically read Uncle Phil. He was like, "Listen, do you really need me to say anything? Like, at the end of the day, I know and you know, and we both know that you really want to use it, and all you're doing is waiting for somebody to give you the green light to do it. You want to do it, go ahead and do it. You know, and Uncle Phil was like, dang, you know, like, well, tell me how you really feel, you know. And he said, at the end of the day, you're going to do what it is to do to win. If you want to release this information, go ahead and release the information. You don't really need my permission. That's what you want. You want to feel like you got your back up against the wall and you have no other choice but to do it. But you want to do it. And then later on, we see Jeffrey, because Jeffrey still feels some kind of way about what happened last week with him kind of checking him, talking about something, you work for me and you just need to do what I say you fucking do. And remember, Jeffrey was already going to quit, but he stopped because Will asked him to help him find his dad. So he got the information, and he took it to Will, and he gave Will the envelope, but he told him, he said, listen, and let me tell you something, this is what you asked for. But let me be honest with you, let me be clear about something. If you unleash this is going to hurt a lot of people. So be careful, this is a Pandora's box. Make sure this is what you really want to do. So, we see Aunt Viv working on her painting, right? She's upset about Carlton. She's worried. She's in her head. But we know that she has the interview for this fellowship. Am I out of order? Hold on, I might be out of order. She went to the interview first. Yeah. She went to the interview first for the fellowship. And shouts out to the cameos in this episode. We have the original Aunt Vi, Will's mama. We got the original Will's mama. And we have the second Aunt Viv. So Aunt Vi and Aunt Viv in the house. We have Tim Reed's wife, who was the second one. And they're the actual judges. And, you know, she comes in with her portfolio. And, of course, they love her work. And they ask her, they say, listen, you know, because she's giving them the whole, you know, this is what I love to do. And this is my art and yada, yada, yada. And they were like, look, forget all of that. We need to know why you stop painting. Like, that's all we want to know. We want to know why you stop painting. And for the first time, we're getting the real answer. And she said it would be really easy for me to blame the demands of motherhood and taking care of my kids and all of that. Like, it would be really easy for me to go down that road. She said, but honestly, the reality of the situation is I got tired of the politics. She said the painting was easy. I got tired of the rigmarole, the politics, the proving my worth, the showing who I am, the convincing people, the explaining to people, the answering to people. And they were like, okay, well then why did you come back? Like, if all of these things, like none of that, basically ain't none of that changed about art. But why have you changed your mind? Why did you come back? And she said, honestly, my nephew moved in with us. And I have seen how he moves through the world unapologetically him. And it really helped me understand and realize that I don't have to explain myself to anybody. My art is my art. Either you're going to like it or you don't, but it makes me happy. And so they told her, they said, listen, we had already made up our mind before you walked in here that we wanted to offer you this fellowship. We just needed to make sure that we were making the right decision. And your answers have told us that we are making the right decision. So we are offering you this fellowship, but we need to know that you can handle it. We need to know that you are going to be able to travel. You're going to be able to, meet all the requirements of the fellowship. So we want you to take 24 hours and think about it. Before you commit to anything, 21 hours, and you come back and you talk to us. All right. Now, Hillary made me mad. We saw Hillary, she called Jazz to help her break into the house and get some of her stuff out of the house. So what it sounds like, or what it seems like, is she owes Kylo this $50,000. Because, of course, her parents told her how proud they were that she made the right decision and she took the video down. And, of course, she doesn't want to ask them for the money. So, she called Jazz to help her break into the house because I guess Kylo is not allowing her to get her things until she pays him the money. But here's the part that I don't understand. First of all, he ain't changed the locks. You was able to just walk in the door. He ain't changed the locks. If he's holding your stuff for ransom, wouldn't he want to prevent you from being able to come and go as you please? Second of all, you don't think he has a security system that sees you coming in there and packing up your shit and taking your stuff out that house? Third of all, if y'all were really on a stealth mission, they stopped in the middle of this whole operation so that they could flirt and invite each other to dinner. The other thing is, Hillary, you have a problem asking your daddy for the $50,000 to pay Kylo off, but you don't have no problem staying at a 5-star hotel bungalow until you figure it all out. I'm sure that is $400-$500 a night at the least. At the least, it's $500. I said 500 twice. $500 a night. Girl, go sit down somewhere. Y'all making me mad with this Hillary storyline. I'm just gonna tell y'all now. Now I have been here with Bel Air with the writing, and I've been on it, but this Hillary storyline, you making me feel some kind of way. Now, Will goes to Uncle Phil, and he tells Uncle Phil, he takes that package that Jeffrey gave him, and he tells him, listen, I asked Jeffrey to help me find my dad. Jeffrey brought me this whole dossier, but he also told me that if I opened it up, I'd be opening up Pandora's box. And I decided that the family I know is better than the family I don't know, and you've been more of a father to me than he ever was, and I just don't want to open it up. And so he ends up giving the package to Uncle Phil. Now, I knew then, I said, oh, this is about to be a whole problem, because you know Uncle Phil gonna be mad at Jeffrey for intervening, because he told Jeffrey to do the exact opposite of what Jeffrey did. And that's exactly what happened, honey, because we see Jeffrey come in the office, and we see Uncle Phil throw that package down. Jeffrey gonna be like, how you get it? You ain't tell Will that this was undercover, not to tell nobody. You just told him to be careful about unleashing the dragon. And so, but Jeffrey stood in it. Jeffrey told Uncle Phil point blank, like, listen, you know, Will has a right to know. Will has a right to this information. And, you know, he asked me and I did it. And Uncle Phil told him, he said, see, this was your way of massaging your own guilt that you have about leaving your own child. And so, of course, that was a low blow with Jeffrey. So then Jeffrey told Uncle Phil, he said, listen, let me tell you something, bruh. You really need to start paying attention to what you got going on under your own nose, right? You're the reason why your wife walked away from her dreams. Your son has the struggles that he has. He was like, and your daughter, baby, when he got to daughter, Uncle Phil was like, watch it. Because you about to cross a line that you can't come back across. And I thought it was interesting that it got to the daughter and it was a whole situation. But Phil told Jeffrey, he said, listen, and this was a very powerful scene. He told him, he said, listen, I can't trust you anymore. So I'm going to have to let you go. I'm going to have to fire you. And Jeffrey, I just knew Jeffrey was going to pull that letter of resignation out of his shirt. But he didn't. He said, you can't fire me. It'll be too suspicious. People are asked too many questions that you don't need to answer. I had a family emergency. Phil was like, yeah. And you had to leave, you know, immediately to go handle. He was like, exactly. So, baby, Jeffrey gone, at least for the time being. I think Jeffrey will come back. I think they'll be able to, they're going to make up. They probably won't make up till next season, but they're going to make up, child. Now it is time for the debate, and they're getting ready for the debate, and Uncle Phil is talking to, you know, Aunt Viv, and that's when she found out that Jeffrey is gone, and she was like, Phil, we need Jeffrey now more than ever. Like, you're going to be district attorney. I'm going to have this fellowship. We're going to need him to keep an eye on the kids. And Phil is like, listen, we got this. Like, you take that fellowship. You do what you need to do. We good. We are covered. You know, he was like, I'll pick up the slack if that's what I need to do. But I don't want you to not take this fellowship. You take the fellowship. You good at it. I mean, you good to go. So, Uncle Phil, he leaves to go to the debate, and when he leaves to go to the debate, she ends up calling the fellowship people, and she tells them, listen, I can't take this, and she starts running down all the reasons why she can't take it. She said, my husband about to be district attorney, my son is dealing with anxiety, and he is struggling. I have my nephew who just moved in, and we are all still adjusting to that. My daughter, too busy telling everybody her business down on the social media. My other daughter don't tell me nothing because she think I can't handle it. You know, this just ain't the right time. And so they told her, they said, listen, We have a 24-hour rule for a reason. You need to wait the 24 hours, and we will not accept your answer earlier than that. Continue to think about it. Continue to work it out. And if you still feel the way you feel, we'll talk tomorrow. So Uncle Phil leaves to go to the debate. Aunt Vi said, I'll be there. I'll be there. Boo, all that good stuff. Then we see Lisa arguing with her daddy. And her daddy is telling Lisa, listen, your so-called boyfriend, he is a whole felon out here, okay? Well, he ain't a felon. But he, was in Philly. The reason why he's here, he got the whole scoop. The judge then turned on Uncle Phil and then gave Fred all the ammunition he needs. So Fred is, he going to go into the debate. And Lisa don't believe her daddy. Lisa is like, listen, I'm going to go see Will. I don't care what you talking about. Will wouldn't lie to me. He said, okay, go on and ask Will. But when he tell you the truth and you find out what's really good, I don't want you to see him again. So Lisa shows up at the house and she all upset and she asked Will, she got Will mugshot talking about something, is this you? And Carlton is sitting there and Carlton is like, Lisa, it's not what you think. She was like, Carlton, stay out of this. It's between me and Will. I'm gonna need you to stay over there, and while we talk about it over here, you stay over there. And so Will was like, listen, let me explain. And so he takes Lisa into the next room and he tries to explain to Lisa, what the deal is. But of course, Lisa ain't trying to hear it. Lisa is like, I've been defending you to my father. I told my father that it couldn't be. And here it is. You've been lying to me. Now, my thing is this. Lisa, I just don't feel like you got much of a leg to stand on. Like, you have to understand why Will didn't tell you. And he even told her, he said, listen, that was the story that they told me to use, and I respect my aunt and uncle too much to betray them. Like, I had to do what they were asking me to do. He was like, if it wasn't for them, he didn't specifically say dead. He said I wouldn't be here, but he should have said dead. He should have said, listen, if I didn't do what they told me to do, I would be dead right now. If Uncle Phil didn't pull those strings and my mother didn't get me out of Philly, I would be dead. And I don't know if he stressed that to her. But neither here nor there. She in her feelings. But she told him, she said, listen, well, let me tell you something. My daddy got all this ammunition that he going to use it tonight. So, it is what it is. So, Will and Carlton run down to the debate to try to let Uncle Phil know what's up. They got to get through security and everything. They finally get to Uncle Phil and they tell Uncle Phil what the deal is. Uncle Phil said, listen, let me explain something. He said, I appreciate y'all coming down here to let me know. I appreciate y'all telling me how the whole thing went down. He said, but please know something. Be clear. I wouldn't do anything differently. I don't regret what I did. I don't regret the decisions that I made. And we're going to have to let the chips fall where they may. But please know, Will, I would do it all again if I had to. Okay? He said, I think all of our lives are better for it. So he goes out there for the debate. We got Lisa on one side of the stage. We got Will on the other side of the stage. And Viv shows up. Hillary, and they all there. And Uncle Phil wasn't tossed. And his campaign manager basically told him, he said, listen, if you feel yourself on the ropes, you know what you got. Go for the boom, boom, boom. Oh, let me put a pause in that. Let me rewind a little bit. One of the last thing that Jeffrey said to Uncle Phil was, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. When I said that you would do whatever you needed to do to win, when I said that you were ready to pull the trigger on these rumors about Fred, he said, listen, you may not like Fred, you may not like what Fred did to you, but Fred's a good man. You may not like the fact that he cheated on his wife, but does his life need to be destroyed because of it? Think about Lisa. And so the last thing he told him was, prove me wrong. So Uncle Phil, he gets up there and he starts giving his opening speech, and he starts talking about family and how important family is. And I was like, ooh. But then he takes a long pause and he says, and it's because of my family and it's because of those strong bonds that we have, I'm pulling out of the race. He said, and I will fully endorse Fred. He's a great, police commissioner, and he'll be a great district attorney. If you were planning on voting for me, please vote for him. Because the judge came to visit him too and told him, basically, we had a plan and you ain't had to do this. So he knows that the judge betrayed him. Fred was ready to throw him under the bus, but he held his head and he walked off that stage with dignity. And then he went over to Aunt Vi and he told her, he said, take that fellowship. He said, take the fellowship. I said, I know that's right. So that was the end of this episode. Now, I thought we had 10 episodes, so I'm thinking we're going to have one more episode. We do know that this has been renewed for a season 2. So I don't know what we're going to see happen next week, but we know we're going to get a season 2. So y'all let me know what y'all think. I'll talk to y'all later. Peace.